विष्णु वेद महिमा गाए, साचा रूप साचा रंग मन में दिखाए, प्रकाशित हृदय में ईश्वर भक्त के समाए, साचा रूप साचा रंग मन में दिखाए, साचा रूप साचा रंग मन में दिखाए, साचा रूप साचा रंग मन में दिखाए, प्रकाशित हृदय में ईश्वर। पल पल जीवन जाए रे, कर ले प्रभु का।
सहनौ भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Any questions? Are you raising your hand? Yes, please go ahead.
Hello, good morning, Dr. Janaki. I was reading two things in the Vedanta Treatise. It's to do with the mental and the intellectual sheath. I don't know if it's because from last week we were talking about the intellect and the mind and so forth.
It's okay. General questions can be taken now before the class begins.
So if I can please read the extract and then you can please elaborate on that. So under the mental sheath, it mentions the mental sheath.
Please give the page number so that others can also.
I might have the old, I don't know, I've got this one, the whole complete one.
Okay. Fine. So chapter name?
Mental sheath, the human composition, sorry.
So for those who are looking it up in your book, it is part of the human composition under the subhead mental sheath, which comes under the subhead
sorry.
It comes under the 5 sheets, right? What is the heading of? Go back.
Madam, page 178 of the new book.
Okay, show your book so that people will know which you mean. No, the cover so that they know which one you mean. Let's try this one. Okay. All right. So human composition, the topic head would probably be the 5 sheets, and under it the mental sheet.
Yeah.
Okay.
May I proceed?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll just read it from the text. The mental sheath comprises the mind. It controls the vital air and food sheaths. When the mind is calm and composed, the physiological functions are efficient and the body remains healthy. When the mind is disturbed, agitated, both the vital air and food sheaths are affected, which I understood. Then moving on under the heading of intellectual sheath, the sheath comprises the intellect, the faculty to think, reason, and contemplate, which is clear. The intellect judges and decides the mental and physical activity. Now, where I got confused, it says it controls the mental, vital air, and the food sheets. And under the mental sheet, it mentions the same, that the mental, the mind controls the food. So I got confused with those two. So if you can please clarify on that.
So the mind controls the body and the vital air when the intellect is asleep. Means directly controls. The correct way this happens is intellect controls mind, mind controls vital air and body. That's the right way. That's the way it should be happening. But when the intellect goes to sleep, then the mind does it without intellectual supervision. And that's where all the troubles are generated. So it's not contradicting. It is like, take an example. Some mail is received by an organization. Some letter comes to an organization. This is received by a receiving clerk. Okay. And then he has to give it to the manager. The manager will tell him what to do. And then the receiving clerk has to go and answer it or whatever, and whatever the manager told him to do. Okay. Now imagine that incoming mail is like the perceptions of the body or whatever's happening in the vital air sheet. It is received by the mind. Now the mind has to refer it to the intellect. Then the intellect will tell the mind what to do, and then the mind has to go off and do it. Now what happens in real life is that the mind does it directly. It's like that receiving clerk not asking the manager what I should do and directly answering. So it is his job to answer it, but he should have first asked the manager what is to be done. Okay, so the mind controls the body, intellect controls the mind, which then controls the body. So there is no contradiction.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we were studying. Anybody has anything else? Yeah, Deepraj.
This is related to the point about the distinction between Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. So say, for example, I do mathematics on a daily basis, which primarily involves the part like intellectual thinking, abstract thinking, but it will still come under the category of Karma Yoga?
When you do it as a service.
When I do it as a service.
Yeah, so if you do mathematics as a service, okay, now you'll say, how do I do mathematics as a service? The mathematics is the base of all the whatever inventions are made, and is the base of physics, is the base of everything. So when you're doing it, you can do mathematics thinking, okay, I'm doing this because I'll get my PhD. You can do it thinking that, this thing, whatever I am currently doing, can be of immense benefit to my community. You can do the same mathematics thinking that my doing mathematics is worship of God, for self-realization. So depending on what is the reason that you are doing math, that determines whether it is Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or simply Bhoga. It is not which equipment it is you use. It is why are you using that equipment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have been studying about Karma Yoga. So what are all the various things we have studied about? First and foremost, we understood that a human being cannot exist without action. You have to act. You don't have a choice there. I mean, you have a choice. You can lie down and then you're dead. I mean, it's amazing. It's truly amazing how inactivity is so bad. Last year, when 2 years, 3 years, whenever I got terrible back ailment of some nature, and I was in bed for a couple of months. And it was quite sad and all that. And sort of stuff like that. And but the thing I'm trying to say is that when I got up and everything was fine, and like life was back to normal, my cholesterol had shot up. 2 months just lying in bed, or like really minimal activity, getting up to go to the washroom in some cases. Can you imagine that? Even if you rest for what is considered to be necessary, it can damage your body. And then, of course, over a period of time, it came down again. But the thing, it's like when I got back into normal activity and exercise and everything. But the thing is, even if it is a justified rest, it will still cause problems. Okay, and so my doctor told me something then, which I thought was really useful. He said, okay, you had to lie in bed, but why couldn't you move your hands? You move what you can, right? You can't do too much, but you can do something. Do what you can do. And that was an amazing insight into how the body works. That you have no alternative. You have to work. You have to move. You have to have action. If you say, I want to exercise, I mean, you can say that. You bear the consequences. So in actual fact, you have no option. You have to act. You have to work. You have to do something. Now, since you have to do something, it's a good thing to ask ourselves, what should I do? Now, when you start deciding what to do, here is where the problem starts. Some things seem very interesting to do. You say, this is nice, I will do this. Such as I will go to McDonald's and have a burger. I'm doing something, I went there. You're correct, you are doing something, you went there. Or I'll go to the mall and see what are the latest Apple products. Over here, there is this new place has come, and new Apple store has come, and everybody quite excitedly. Lovely store, by the way. No, I'm not doing advertising for Apple, but that store is really nice. It has trees growing in the store. So that was very nice. We have to use that for the university and have the tree growing inside. So that's very nice. So now I can do that. Those are my options. I can go see the new Apple store, go see a film, lounge around at the beach, whatever you would love to do. Or you can give your life a clear direction. That doesn't mean you don't go to Apple stores and you don't lounge at the beach. But what it means is you have so nicely determined your whole life and arranged your work and rest in such a way that both your work and your rest take you to your goal. Even when you're resting, it's taking you to your goal. This whole designing of life, it all comes together when we are able to do something for something greater than ourselves. Because when you start, suppose you say, no, I do it for myself alone. My life is that I will become, I will beat Mukesh Ambani. I will have turnover of 50,000 crores. Whatever. The moment we start thinking like that, this first thought throws balance out of our life. It's a very, very strange phenomenon, which you will notice for yourself, that the more you think of what you want, the more does balance go away. So now here's this person who wants to beat Mukesh Ambani, and he may well do that. But it will be at the cost of his family, at the cost of his health, at the cost of his body. He will not be able to find balance. But if he can think beyond himself, somehow, somewhere, to the extent you can think beyond yourself, you find things just falling into place. It's a very, very interesting thing. For instance, we are doing karma yoga. Okay, whole day we are doing some work. Morning we get up and study. Then we do whole day some work. Then by the time it is 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, mentally tired, right? At least at 7 you're like, okay, now I think I need rest. So what do most people do? Don't be so quiet. What do most people do at 7 o'clock in the evening?
Open their phones and start scrolling.
Oh, open their phones. Okay, I think I should say
Or
all
TV.
yeah.
A Netflix
The
series.
generational problem. Yeah. So most people then will switch on their television, or if you're younger, then your phone goes with you all the time. You're always disturbing yourself with that. But you start putting on television, sit over there and you watch. Then somebody will come and tell you, oh, this horrible thing happened and that horrible thing happened. And you're just listening, like couch potato. How about, think of it like this. Okay, now you're too tired to work and you are not going to put an effort. So isn't this a good time to listen to bhajans? All your tiredness goes away. Your mind feels energized. And you're not actually putting any effort in either physically or intellectually. So your rest is actually taking you to your goal. So everything, if we have planned, it all works together very well. But we will be able to plan this all very well if
We have a higher goal.
you have a higher goal. If you don't have a higher goal, then what you're going to do? How are you going to balance the whole thing? So that is what he's saying. That when you, in the pursuit of pleasure, go chasing something, when you do mind-led action, this leads to endless amount of troubles. And when we do intellect-led actions, all our troubles just wane away. It's an incredible thing. As you keep doing intellect-led action, whatever troubles they were, they start reducing. And your rate of generation of new troubles also reduces. I don't know if you've noticed that life is usually a collection of problems. Okay, when you go on, as you go through life, you keep adding problems. In your 20s, you have some problems. Then what happens in 30? Yeah, those problems disappeared. No, they are there, plus you've added a few more. Then in 40s, you add some more. Then in 50, you add some health problems as well. Then in 60, you add some all sorts. You just keep adding on to them. So we have to do two things. Whatever we have currently, whatever is messed up, we sort out. It gets sorted out. Number one, and your rate of addition of problems reduces. Now I don't understand, why would anyone not live like this? What's to lose? There's only gain and nothing to lose, and yet I cannot convince anybody. It's a strange thing. Yeah, Deepraj, what did you want?
So the application of intellect, does it necessarily lead to unselfishness?
Yes.
That
I
is,
don't know, you will give me 20 examples, where intellect is there and no unselfishness. So what we say is, how we resolve that conundrum is by saying it's not full intellect. It's partial usage. The mind is quite capable of being dominating. Okay, so when the mind is dominating, obviously it's agitations and all. You know what glaucoma is? Have you heard of glaucoma? No, you're too young to have heard. You have to come to this age and then you will hear all these diseases, because then somebody or the other is getting something around you. Glaucoma is vision. Your vision starts reducing. Okay, so either your peripheral vision goes and it's like a tunnel you can see, or sometimes you can't see the middle, but you can see the peripheral. So it's like the intellect has got glaucoma. You can't see the whole picture. You're seeing at the moment only a very tiny picture. And in that tiny picture, whatever you're seeing, you could do very well, because the intellect is seeing that. But things are outside the range of vision, then how is the person supposed to do anything? He's blind, basically. So intellectually blind. You can only see a portion of the field. You can't see the whole field. So to the extent that your intellect works, to that extent, you will be unselfish. Now take examples of very, very selfish people. Very, very selfish means, it doesn't mean they're horrible people, but people who just are, ambitious and they want to do well for themselves. So now recently, I went to a place all the way over there because one person called me over there and said, okay, I'll introduce you to somebody who will give you 25 acres of land. I said, Reva, they're giving us 25 acres of land. I said, yeah, sure, I'll go wherever they are giving us 25 acres of land. Okay, so I went, I met them, nice people, not bad people, horrible people or anything like that, but nice people. But they're willing to give 25 acres of land. They're willing to even do some other work that we require. But the question is that, the intermediary between the two of us, she's telling me, okay, he will do all this, but what are we going to give him? What's in it for him? Right? So even when they have a profit motive, even when they have a, okay, what am I getting out of it? First, they have to offer you something. Okay, I'm giving you 25 acres of land. Now what? So where they see, okay, and so that's how they work these deals. All these deals are brokered like this. That, okay, you bring to the table this, I bring to the table this, both parties understand what they're giving, what the other person is getting, and then they broker the deal. So if you look at it carefully, you realize that even for your own selfish interests, you have to be giving something. So you can see that in that narrow vision. But you can't see it across the board. You can see over there, okay, so I will get this if I give this. And as the intellect expands, you can see, oh my gosh, it is crazy how little you really have to give and what abundance nature throws down on us. Nature is almost like standing there to give, but we are refusing the gift because we are not willing to give 1 paisa. No, I will not give my 1 paisa. And nature is like, ab main inke saath kya karu? So the abundance that comes out of that expansion of the intellect, you can see that, it's kind of stupid not to give, because how do you even expect to get anything? Like suppose one day, Deep Raj, you will get married. Your theory, if your theory is that I will sit down, my wife will bring me this and will bring me that, then 2 people in this world are going to be unhappy. She and you, both, because there's going to be a big fight. But suppose you start with this, that we are running a household together. Okay, it may be that we do different jobs, but we are running a household together. Okay, and some jobs I do, some jobs she does, whatever the way your natures and personalities are. What kind of happiness that marriage can generate? That same marriage which could have, really when they fight with each other, now sometimes you can't hear them fighting. It's so bad. Because both are like pulling. It's like, oh my God, how do they live with this kind of agitation? Give a little, just a little, give a little. and see the abundance come back. So your intellect is like, it seems to the intellect like, yeah, I mean, yeah, what's to not understand in that? So some people do have very good marriages because within the scope of the marriage, they can give. But then they fight with their neighbors because outside the marriage, they know what giving is. So in answer to your question, long answer, the short answer I gave you, then you were not willing to agree. So then you had to get a long answer. Short answer is, if your intellect works, will you be unselfish? Short answer, yes. So then why is it that all these people using their intellects, they are not unselfish? Because they see very well. The intellect is open only that much. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, there are some other questions. Let's see. Momita, what is the difference between unselfishness and enlightened selfishness? It's the same, Momita. Enlightened selfishness is the same as unselfishness. Enlightened selfishness means that you have the brains to see that if you don't give, you are the one who's suffering. And to give correctly. That is another part of it. And to follow your own swadharma. That's another part of it. So all of this, when Ayn Rand uses the term enlightened selfishness, how many things she's included in it? All which we also include in unselfishness. Firstly, follow your swadharma. Think for yourself. Understand the cost-benefit analysis of all this thing, or everything. You know, it's like I start an industry that's going to pollute the environment, but I make a lot of money, and I forget that I'm living in that environment. Right? So whatever harm I'm doing to everybody else, I'm doing it to myself as well. So when you are being selfish foolishly, you don't understand that you're harming yourself. So enlightened selfishness means you've done it all properly. That is why Howard Roark became such a character.
Yeah, that's precisely what we were discussing, Asha, and all of us, Howard Roark and Ayn Rand's objectivity, and we were talking about this unselfishness and enlightened selfishness. But Ayn Rand's philosophy is not applicable in real life. I mean, she herself had to depend on state help towards the end of her life. She was so against socialism.
Yes, but you have to appreciate that. I don't know how to put this tactfully. Wherever it is truth, it is Vedanta. Wherever it is not following natural principles, that person has not found the truth. Now, what do I say to that? I don't know how to put this tactfully. Basically, we have to take Vedanta as synonymous with truth. Use it like that. So some people who have thought on them by themselves have found out many of the facts of nature. And sometimes they have erred in a few places. So they will get the natural consequences of that understanding. When you take enlightened selfishness a little too far, it will become unenlightened selfishness, but you yourself didn't seem to get that.
So there is a limit to using reason then, right? Because I think she was going purely by reason, but then reason itself is a human being's reason. So what's reasonable for her is not reasonable for someone else.
Yeah, you're using these words differently now. What is the division is between subjectivity and objectivity. Subjectivity is different from it for everybody else. Objectivity, as far as that is concerned, will be the same for everybody. Then you will argue and you will say, no, but even scientists disagree, even objective people disagree. So that is explained by the different levels of the intellect. Okay, So subjective is different for everybody. Objective is same for everybody. To be objective, same, right? Okay, basic ones. Now, the problem with this theory is that objective people can also differ. Two Vedantans themselves may differ. Two scientists may differ, right? So isn't that subjective? No, it continues to be objective, except that the levels of intellect differ. For instance, fish swim, birds fly. Okay, this is it. Now here is a bird. It is flying only 3-4 feet off the ground, like a chicken or something. Then there's a peacock, maybe climbs up 10 feet. Then there's a pigeon, maybe go up to 3 stories, 4 stories of a building. And then there's Ruppel's griffin, which goes up to 37,000 feet. They're all birds, they're all flying, but there's difference. That doesn't mean it's not flying. They're all flying. Not clear?
But unselfishness, I feel people have a problem with the word unselfishness itself. People like Ayn Rand's philosophy, I mean, what they're calling objectivism is a pretty selfish point of view.
See, that's what I'm saying, that people who use their intellect, just like birds fly at different levels, intellectuals also fly at different levels. That doesn't mean it's not using the intellect, and that doesn't mean that using the intellect is wrong, or that doesn't mean that the intellect will not give you the answer. None of these are correct. You have to just increase the level of the intellect. The solution for restricted intellect is development of intellect. It is not following the mind.
Okay, I'll think about this.
Yeah, Pravesh.
Ma'am, as you said that intellect is blind at some point.
Can be, yes.
Can be, means it is blind at some point. It is actually differ with the intelligence or intellect of the person. It is blind somewhere at point. So it is means some people are able to understand the other people's mind, means they able to even understand what others are thinking. Is it also the part of intellect?
Yes. The intellect will be able to tell what the mind is doing.
So how means one person can read the mind of other person? Means how they will be able to enhance their intellect to that such level?
Do you have a child?
Yes, ma'am.
So when the child was very young and the child was feeling unhappy in some way or distressed, could you not tell what was distressing the child?
Yes.
How is it that you know? Like that they know. You can tell, right? I mean, actually you can even make the statement, and that statement would be true, that you can understand another's mind out of your capacity to love. And that statement would also be true. The more you love a person, the more you understand what that person is going through.
Yes.
So the problem is that we don't know how to love.
Okay.
We only get into attachment. So as when the child is very young, every mother has to be extremely sacrificial towards that child. Every parent, father, mother, whoever is looking after the child, has to be very sacrificial. You can't think of yourself because there is no yourself. I mean, you can't tell the child, why are you crying at night? Don't you know I'm tired? I need to sleep. You can't say that.
Yes.
But as the child grows up, you can say that. You can say, you're troubling me, or you're not listening to me, or you're like, you can't tell a child, right? You're not listening to me. I mean, if the child is crying, you can't say, keep quiet, listen to me. The child will cry even more. It doesn't make sense. But as the child gains, gains the capacity to understand, you understand, he's gained the capacity to understand. So any individual uses that capacity for their own sake, in whatever way, to make the child follow instructions, whatever it is. And that's where all the trouble starts. So you can say that you understand the emotions of another person through the intellect, or you can equally say that you understand the emotions of another person through love. But if you really think, both these statements are true, but if you think about what both these statements say, they both basically are saying, can you tell me what they both basically are saying? Anyone?
Their emotions.
Sorry?
Their emotions.
No, I'm saying you can say you understand the mind of another person through the intellect. Correct statement. You can even understand the emotions of another person through love. And it seems like, oh, these are two separate statements, but actually they're both saying the same thing, which is
You can understand the mind of another person depending on your spiritual growth.
depending on your higher ideal. The more you can think beyond yourself, the more you understand how another is feeling. At every step, at every step you're able to sort of make an assessment is, how is the other person feeling? If you're writing a book, are you thinking, will somebody read this and know what is being said? How many times I receive writing, almost the whole team has to write something on the other for some purpose. And very often they talk from where they stand. In the sense, they know so much background, and so they are talking from there. But the person reading it doesn't know all the background. So you have to stop and think, what is the other one going to feel when he hears this, when he reads this? Stop and think for a second. I tell a person, you're so stupid. Did I stop to think, what will this other person think? If you stop to think, decided that person is going to feel bad, wanted that person to feel bad for whatever end you had in mind, and you said it, you're fine. I'm assuming the end you had in mind was to do him some good. But the more we can associate with the higher ideal, means associate with the higher ideal means think beyond ourselves. You call it love, you call it intellect, it works out to the same thing. In love, true love means first you, then me. And in intellect, we just see the picture clearly. It works to the same thing. In broad principle, it works to the same thing. But in technical terms, we say that it is your intellect that understands, because intellect always goes to areas unknown. Mind cannot go to areas unknown, by definition. Are you okay, Pravesh, or am I just confusing this matter?
A bit. Ma'am, we need to connect ourselves to the higher energy. So that means to develop our intellect capacity, we need to connect ourselves to the higher energy. And if we'll be able to connect ourselves to the higher energy, then love itself develop in ourselves. And we will be able to understand the other people feeling. I think I understood like that.
Yes, except that I'm not sure what correct. That is correct. Your second part is correct. Except I hope you're clear on what you understand by higher energy. There is no higher energy. There is only your comprehension of something higher.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. So we go back to the text. So what did we do? That everyone has to act. Therefore, you have a choice of action. Because you have to act, you will have to choose which action. And why you have to choose which action? Because you're a human being. Others don't have to worry about it. A zebra, a tiger, a mosquito, a cockroach, a lizard doesn't need to choose. It's already decided for them what they're doing. Right? Mosquito doesn't come to you once in a while and say, "Acha, today you're sleeping well, I won't bite you. Chalo, aaj chhod dete hain." Yeah, इसको बहुत mosquito ने खाया है. अभी मैं नहीं खाता इसको. No mosquito is capable of thinking like that. So you are, as a human being, you get a choice. When you get a choice, you have to choose between two things. You can follow your mind or you can follow your intellect. This is a technical way of putting it. A layman's way of saying it is you can either follow what you would like to do or do what according to you is the right thing to do. The Sanskrit way of putting it, if you have to put it in Sanskrit, is the path of Shreyas or the path of Preyas. Shreyas is Shreya, the path of Shreya is the path which is good for you, good for everyone else. Preya is the path which you believe to be good for you, but is neither good for you nor good for anyone else. Okay, so that's, I think, where we were, right? So who will read the next paragraph?
Okay, Janki, I'll read. Hi.
Please.
The Karma Yoga paragraph, right?
No, above it.
Okay. Hence, carefully study and reflect upon the importance of fixing an ideal in life, as high an ideal as you can reach within your capacity. Make sure you choose a realistic ideal and work towards it. When your intellect is fired with an ideal, your mind's likes and dislikes slowly lose their persuasive influence. The ideal that you set for life could be relative or absolute. A relative ideal is that which is directed to the welfare of your community or country, to humanity or all living beings. The absolute ideal would be to realize the Supreme Self, attain the ultimate spiritual enlightenment. Yes. Okay, what did I understand, right?
Yeah, summarize it.
Yeah, so a person looking to achieve something in life through his or her perceptions of an ideal of reaching a height of his career or of his life to become something, but whether that is reaching to the humanity or the country or where he is living in the society, is it relevant? Whether his thought and emotions towards the ideal is relevant to the society or the country or the humanity or not. So is the person or are the person thinking in that manner and feeling in that emotion or not, is what this paragraph defines or says.
Okay, good. So firstly, we have the concept of the ideal. So what exactly is an ideal? Can anybody define an ideal for me? Because as you know, in Vedanta, we start with all definitions. So anyone wants to tell us what is an ideal?
A higher desire?
A goal.
Okay, so can you all tell me what is the difference between a higher desire, a higher desire and ideal, and goal and ideal? What's the difference between a higher desire and an ideal?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Chandwani.
Madam, a small digression.
Oh wait, let's finish this. Then
On
you
this
tell me.
only, no, I'm referring to
Okay.
that only. He answered, I'm trying to answer your
Oh,
question
okay.
in a slight digression. The third last line says, second last, it could be a relative ideal or it could be an absolute ideal. Now, the relative falls into the category of waking, dream, and the deep sleep. The absolute falls into the self and the other one, which is the absolute one. You are really basically dreaming at the moment. Mithya, as we call it, right? So now your question was, Can you define the difference between the two? The difference is that only the ideal, higher ideal would be the self, or to reach the self, and your relative could be, I want to make money, I want a good name, I want a whatever it is. That is how I would look.
Listen carefully. The question is, what is the difference between a higher desire and an ideal? That was question 1. And question number 2 is, what is the difference between a goal and an ideal? Mani Ramalingam. Inspiration, methods of reaching, tools to reach my goal settings. Inspiration, method of reaching, tools to reach my goal settings. It's not clear which one you're saying is which. Reshma, higher desire is from the mind, goal or ideal is backed by the intellect. Good, Reshma. So, higher desire, higher or lower, is both the mind. Okay, Jyoti, if you say it's a higher desire. What is the difference between a higher desire and a lower desire? Jyoti?
Sorry, what is the difference between?
Higher desire and lower desire.
Just the level of selfishness?
Very good. The level of selfishness. So when you say higher, I hope everybody please take cognizance. Excuse me. Please take cognizance. When you say higher than what? Higher is a comparative term. So higher means higher from where I am now. For Mahatma Gandhi, working for the nation is not a higher desire, because that is who he is. For him, higher desire would be working for humanity or working for self-realization. Okay, so higher means higher than where I am. So a higher desire means higher than where I am. Lower desire means my level and lower, anything. And not, lower means actually really my level, because you can't go lower. My level desires means everything my mind wants at the moment. Okay, so that's the lower desire, means whatever I currently want. Okay, so that's higher desire, lower desire. Then we had higher desire versus ideal. What is the difference between the higher desire and an ideal? Both are higher desires, but the ideal is not just a higher desire, it is backed by the intellect. What is the difference between having a higher desire and having a higher desire backed by the intellect? Having a higher desire means, oh, Vedanta is so nice. I believe in God so much. Yeah, we should do something for climate change. All these are higher desires. Are any of them ideals? No. Ideal means it is a goal that you have set for yourself. You have a plan, a program to achieve it, and you are doing whatever is required. Not just, oh, God is so nice, one day we should realize the self. No, you know on a daily basis what you're doing to get there. Not just talk in the air. Oh, my teacher is so nice. My subject is so nice. No, what are you doing? What is your plan? What is your program to reach there? Okay, so are you with me so far? Especially those who are relatively new to the class, and obviously all those who are old also. Everyone's clear about this? A desire is from the mind. The mind can want higher things or its level things. However, neither of them it's going to get. It will get what it works for. And it works for something when it has a goal. When the goal, when you are working, when your intellect is backing your normal desires, your everyday desires, it is called a goal. Means you want something selfish and your intellect is working to obtain it. What is an ideal? An ideal is you want something unselfish or selfless, and your intellect is working to obtain it. All right, so I hope all this terminology is clear. Desire from the mind. Mind is capable of higher desire and lower desire. In both cases, it is unlikely to obtain because it just loves saying, oh, I'd love to have a mansion. I'd love to have an island. I'd love to have lots of money. I would love to have an ice cream. In no case is it getting it. Why? Because unless you engage the intellect, you don't have a plan, a program, methodology to attain it. When you engage the intellect, it becomes a goal. When you engage the intellect towards a higher object, it is called ideal. All clear? Anybody has a question? Omkar, I will come to you. Anyone has any questions on this so far?
Madam, engaging the mind to reach the ultimate. Engaging the mind.
Engaging the mind, no, engaging the intellect. The intellect has to be engaged. Mind jumps in. Mind is jumping in and out. Intellect has to, it's like an elephant. It has to start. And when it starts, it can handle everything. Okay. Omkar, you had a question? Omkar or
Yeah.
Omkar
So
or-
Janki ji, yeah, I'm putting up this because I wanted to understand whether one can straight away have an absolute ideal without first having a relative ideal. Because it seems to me, I'm not too sure, that some of the famous bhaktas like Mirabai and Narsimha Mehta and all of them never really had an ideal of working for the community or country. They were straight away wanting to reach God. So is that possible?
Omkar, think about it. It's like saying, it's like asking. Take a real life thing, because then life becomes easier. It's like asking, is it possible to get a PhD without doing your graduation and post-graduation? The answer is no. To which your argument is, I have seen so many people, they have gone and directly done PhD. And it's factually true, your observation is correct. How would you explain it? With this example, Omkar, how would you explain it?
They went and did the PhD directly without doing the graduation is the question.
No, you see, you say, I'm starting again. You say that, can you do a PhD without doing your graduation? I say no. You have to do your graduation to do your PhD. So you say, I have seen people who are not doing their graduation and they went directly to PhD. All right. Now what should I say to that? Suppose somebody said that. Huh?
So yeah, there are examples of people, such people. But I would think that they were conferred a PhD or a doctorate because of great work done in some field.
No, Omkar. You cannot get a PhD unless you've done your graduation. So if you are not seeing a person doing his graduation and has gone directly and applied for PhD, it means he has done his graduation before you met him.
Okay.
You can't, it's against the law. You cannot go and do your PhD unless you're a graduate. So if you're not seeing him do his graduation, he's done it earlier, before you saw him. But nobody can break the law. It has to go in that order. So you can't say, I never saw him do it. No, because he had done it already by the time you met him.
And that could not necessarily be in this life. It could be some previous life also, is it?
Yeah, whatever. The thing is done it before. I mean, if
Okay.
you can say, take an example. It's always easier when you make the abstract into concrete. Here is Shankaracharya. He's 8 years old. Oh, here's Shankara. He's 8 years old. He leaves his family and he says, I'm going to take sannyas. His mother says, are you mad or something? I'm not going to let you do this. Right? Which any mother will say. And yet, unlike the 99% of people who could have said the same thing and fallen flat on their face had they tried the stunt, he went through. Absolutely went through. He was okay. He took sannyas. He became a great person. Anybody else trying the stunt will fall flat on their face. So what do we assume from this? That he's already come up to a stage. He's already at that level of spiritual development where he can do this. How did he do it? He had to follow the same process that all of us will have to follow. Okay?
Yes. Yes, got it. So absolute ideal has to necessarily come after relative ideal.
Yes. But now all of us, so therefore we don't prescribe relative or absolute to people. People will take whatever they are comfortable. So people should take whatever they are comfortable with. Nobody has to tell anybody, take a relative ideal, take a absolute ideal, take this ideal or that ideal. Everybody takes what they are comfortable with.
Got it. Thank you. Yes.
Mamita?
But all of us in the class here, we are aiming for the absolute, whereas we are not. I mean, we haven't qualified for any relative goals. Is it because while we are aiming, while we are studying Vedanta, we also become aware of what we can do next, which is our relative goal, like Swadharma?
Now you started a logic, and your first statement in that logic is all of us in this class are aiming for the absolute ideal. So firstly, do you know everybody in this class? I myself don't know. So we can make no statement on what everybody is doing because we don't even know them. I'd love to know everybody and I hope I meet them. Anybody in this class in Bangalore? Anybody in Bangalore? Because then I have a hope of seeing some of you at least next week. Anybody from Bangalore in this class? Nobody from Bangalore. Or nobody's listening to anything I'm saying. Which one is it? Nobody from Bangalore in this class. Oops. Only Vidushi is from Bangalore. Okay, so I don't know everybody in this class. You don't know everybody in this class. Even the people who we claim to know, like we know Mukesh Bajaria, we know Deep Raj, we know LC. But do we know that they have all absolute ideals or relative ideals? No. So you can't start any logic on that. Some people in this class would like to take up the absolute ideal. Take it up. Some people would like to take a more relative ideal. Okay, you take that up. Nobody needs to tell anybody else what they're doing or why they're doing it. In that sense, it's very individualistic. But whatever you're doing, it will have to follow the same broad pattern.
But Janki, only when we're talking about enlightened selfishness being the same as unselfishness, it is only true when the ideal is the absolute. Otherwise, we are all just ideologues. We just have some. I mean, it will lead us down some rabbit hole. We'll reach nowhere. So it has to be that the ideal has to be the absolute.
Not necessary, because firstly, it's true. We can go down a rabbit hole anytime. That is true for everybody at all. But on the other hand, when we say higher, we have to take the next step. If you're on a ladder, you can only put your foot on the next step, right? Whether you see the top of the ladder or you don't see the top of the ladder, your job is the same. You put your foot on the next step. So it's not really important whether you see the end or not. Because the end, some people will say is X and some people will say is Y. Why argue? Every one of us can take one step forward. Let's just take it. And then once you put one foot up, then in some time you'll be able to put the other foot up. And then sometimes put the other foot up. And at the end of the day, that's all you can do, right? What can you do? You can't do anything more than that. So let's just do it. Let's get down to it and do it. It doesn't matter what you conceive as the end. And the further you are, the wronger will that conception be, if such a word as wronger exists. Okay? It doesn't matter. Everything we conceive is going to be wrong. Whatever we think it is, it's not that.
But if it's a worldly goal, if it's a relative goal, then I'm climbing the wrong ladder only.
No, not necessarily. If you're a very tamasic person, then first you should attain selfish goals. You don't know how to attain a goal. What are you talking about attaining the infinite? You don't know, for instance, how to take care of your body. What do you want to take care of your mind? You want.
But anyone can aim for the absolute, right? I mean, no matter how tamasic I am.
Of course. But your next step will be your next step.
Right. But that also becomes clear to me if I'm on the right path. So then itself, I will know that I am tamasic and I need to first of all do this much. So
right.
Otherwise,
I'm on the right ladder. That is correct.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chandwani?
Madam, with reference to your earlier example, PhD and graduation, there was another example you had given some sessions back. I don't know Vedanta, whether it was in Bhagavad Gita or how do you know what you're doing. Deepraj had given an example of Unglimar. And then you had said precipitation, 3 drops. Unglimar, Buddha, 49th precipitation. And he realized as a 50th. So we don't know where we are, whether we are the third drop precipitation or we are at the 49th drop. So it's all where you are from where you take off. I think you've given this example a few weeks back, I think.
Yes, correct. That would also work in this context. Okay, so that's it for today.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Thank you, madam.
Hari
Thank you.
Janki ji, Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Janki ji.
Hari Om.